So quick introduction, my name's Ed Kinney. I am the product training manager here at Korbyt, and welcome to Training Tuesday, where we routinely, every other Tuesday, just spend about 20 to 30 minutes exploring a topic in the Korbyt CMS, and then taking some Q&A related to that topic, or other, questions and thoughts around the Korbyt platform. So today's topic is basics of kiosk building. So that's what we're going to get into today. We're going to talk about the kiosk builder, settings inside of a kiosk, the basics of adding layout pages and thinking about how they fit together, and the basics of navigating and creating the navigation inside of a kiosk. So here, we're saying a kiosk, but really we're talking about any sort of touch screen or even keyboard and mouse interface that someone is interacting with that has more than just one page of information. In our last training class, we went over interactivity, the basics of inside of one design, toggling visibility, or changing some basic formatting through interaction. This is a bit more involved. Now, today's not going to be exhaustive. In 2 weeks, on September 9th, we are going to continue our kiosk discussion when we're going to get into some more advanced kiosk techniques. So as much as I love it when people run out and apply everything they learn in training right after training, and that's not a bad idea today as well, just know that we're going to get a bit more involved, a bit more advanced in that next class. If this is your first Training Tuesday class, welcome. We do have a knowledge base page in our product site that has the recordings of previous sessions. And we also send out the recordings after each session. So welcome. I do also want to just let everybody know, in case you are located near one, we do have a bit of a Korbyt roadshow, Korbyt in orbit, traveling around and doing events. We're going to be in New York City, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, and London. So you can register for these events. You can join. It goes over what to expect and why to attend. So seeing, some of those Korbyt features in action with our Korbyt team. So I shared the link for how to register for the Korbyt in Orbit sessions, if you're near any of them, into our chat. So you should see that there. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and we'll dive into the Korbyt content management system and the kiosk builder. So you're seeing my training system shared here on the screen. Also, if this is one of your first Training Tuesday sessions, you might not have previously seen our new enhanced UI. We're calling it the navigation bar. So instead of having the mega menu that you have to toggle open all the time, there's a more persistent navigation bar on the side that you can expand to see the actual names until you get used to the icon. So just a little bit different way to traverse the content management system. If you would like this turned on for your system, that is very easy to do. It's just product@korbyt.com. Shoot an email to our product team, and they'll walk through turning that on for you. So Kiosk Builder is going to be found in the advanced section, either through the navigation bar or through the mega menu. That is where you will find the Kiosk Builder tool. Now, I don't have any kiosks yet in my system. That's why it looks like this. This might be what yours looks like. Adding a kiosk is through the blue button. And you can click that, and it takes you into the Kiosk Builder, which, if you've used our layout builder, this is going to look fairly familiar. If I zoom my web browser out, we have what looks like a builder tool on the right-hand side and this extra kiosk menu on the left. So how a kiosk works, before we get into all the different settings, the real foundation of a kiosk is pulling in or creating layout pages. So we're still using layouts as the base element in the system. And you can create new pages here inside of the Kiosk Builder. If I click create a layout page, it takes me through kind of a simplified layout creation process. I have to give it a name, and I can select any sort of like zoning of the screen I might want. And we always recommend the most basic, the single zone, being the most versatile. Now, while you can do that here in the system, what I honestly recommend is starting to build your layout pages just simply in the layout builder. So start away from the Kiosk Builder, as counterintuitive as that may seem, because when you go to manage and create and edit a layout inside of the layout builder, you just have a little bit more screen real estate to operate. That's all. So I can build something like my welcome page that I'd like to have for my kiosk. Tells people tap here to begin, just shows the date and time. I can build that here in the layout builder, publish it, and then I can transition to my kiosk builder and just select layout pages that I've already built and published. So we can go through the layout pages that I have in my system, which I do have a few, and you can select multiple. So if this is going to be my splash page, but I also know that I want to show a weather page, or I want to show a specific location's weather radar with a bit more formatting. If I want to have a map page or a playlist page, I can add all of these together in one selection. And now these pages are here, part of my kiosk. So now we can start talking about some of the other kiosk settings. Kiosk needs names. So I'm going to call this Training Tuesday Kiosk. As we go down the settings, the next option is an auto reset and a number of seconds. So what this allows you to turn on, and it is on by default with a 20-second timer by default, is this will reset the kiosk back to a selected home page or main page after a period of inactivity. So right now it's saying after 20 seconds of no one actually touching and interacting with the kiosk, it will reset back to the home page. Which layout is the home page? It's the one that has the little crown on it, on its thumbnail. And if I move on to another kiosk page, you can see I get a little delete this layout red X, and I get a crown. And if you click on that crown on a new page, that's what sets that main page. The one that will be when the kiosk first boots up, that will be the page that it goes to. And if auto reset is turned on, that is the page it will return to after this period of inactivity. It is an option. You can turn it off if you want a kiosk to basically stay wherever it was when the last person interacted with it. You can just turn off auto reset, and then it will stay wherever the last person put it. More typically is that auto reset page. And you can increase that time or even just type a time. How long before it auto resets? It really depends on the nature of the kiosk. What type of user is walking up to it? What type of thing are they searching for? Once they've found it, how long are they going to be looking at it without making other selections? And at what frequency is like the next user going to walk up and you want it to be reset back to its default state? So there's no right number. It's finding that right balance. So we've got our basic setting. We are going to talk more about interactivity logging in the advanced session in 2 weeks, but just know that it is possible to create some settings in the system that will track which buttons, which elements get interacted with when, and on which different players you might send this to if you send it to multiple players. We'll talk more about that in that advanced section. So for now, I'm going to leave it off. Then we have the layouts that have been made a part of this kiosk. I'm going to zoom my browser out a little bit more so that you can see my selected page that I'm viewing on the right and the kiosk settings here on the left. And if I want to simply view another page that is part of the kiosk, I can just select it and then it shows it to me. So I've got my pages. I've got some of my starting pages to have my kiosk experience. Now we build the navigation. So the navigation in the kiosk is based on people interacting with an element. If we're talking a touchscreen, we're talking tapping with their hand. If it's a mouse and keyboard, it's clicking with the mouse. And we're going to be setting different buttons that when someone clicks it, it does some activity. It takes us to another page. And while we do have an element in the builder called button, and it is a button element, and here you see one already on my screen, I want you to be aware that anything in Korbyt can be a button in terms of interaction. So how you build that interaction instruction inside the kiosk builder here on the left, you have a section that's labeled navigation elements. And what we have here is every element that is in the design that we have selected. So we have a begin, a time, a date, a welcome text, and a background. And you'll see those are my elements in the layer list. This is another place where renaming your elements becomes really helpful. Because if I just have a button on the screen that is called element 04 with that default naming, that's not terribly helpful. So renaming elements, again, the basics of that. In the layout builder side, if you double click on a name, it highlights it. You can type in a new name. I'd say like new button. Hit enter to lock that name in. I'm going to go ahead and delete that button. I don't need it. Delete. So now I need to build an interaction that says, hey, I have a big button that says tap here to begin. Drawing that user into this screen, they're going to tap there. What page do I want them to go to next? That's the navigation I have to build. So I have my begin button here. I click on my lightning bolt, and then I can log interaction if I have interactivity turned on, and I can select a destination above. So what I am doing is saying when someone clicks this button, which layout page are they going to be taken to? And I actually want a slightly different one. I needed a different one of my other layout pages in here. May not have it published. System processing, please stand by. Yeah, I have it in a draft status. That's not terribly helpful. Publish. Exit. Back to my kiosk builder. And because I did not hit save kiosk and I walked away, we're starting again from the beginning. Training day. Kiosk. Select my layout pages. And I wanted, let's grab the Albany weather. Let's grab my touch here to begin, my home frame, and news. We'll add those. And I need to set my new home page there. So when somebody touches the begin button, I want them to be taken to the actual like navigation menu of my kiosk. So I tell the design I want to have that button clicked, takes them to that page, save that link. So now we can see a navigation element that has navigation attached. The begin button, when clicked, takes someone to the home kiosk frame page. So this is the page they would be taken to. And I have other navigational elements across the top. So maybe from here, I want people to be able to go to the weather radar page. So I would find my weather radar button. When clicked, I'd like it to go to that Albany weather radar map. Save navigation. And now someone clicks weather radar, they get taken to this page, which will draw in that weather radar map. Now, the button navigation we've programmed so far is all one direction. I have created a button that takes people from that home start page. They click tap here to begin. They are onto this page. There's nothing here that I've created at all so far that takes them back to that home page. There's nothing here that they click to go back to this screen. And maybe that's by design. Usually the like welcome touch here to begin, you don't like people don't reset back to it necessarily. But if I then have them go to the weather radar, how do they leave the weather radar to go back to that main navigation screen? I need to have a button here that takes them back. Now I can use my built-in layout builder here to add something like a button element and edit it and say, back to main page. Put it here at the top. Going to rename my element back to main page. Going to publish my changes I'm making to this layout. You are editing the layout. So be aware if like this screen, you're pulling it into a layout and you're adding a button for navigation, but this layout is also being used like on a playlist and just shown up on a TV on its own. You have now added a button to the display on the TV where the weather is. This one layout you have just edited. So it sometimes can be helpful to actually clone pages if they have multiple uses. So if you're going to use the same layout design in a kiosk and on a screen, and there might be navigational buttons and differences, even subtle ones, between the two use cases, cloning those layout pages can be helpful. Now I've got my button here to take us back to the main page. So I tell the design, hey, somebody clicks that button. I would like to go to one of the destinations above, back to that home page, save links. So now I can save my kiosk so I don't lose any of my work. And I have built in some of my basic starter navigation. Somebody clicks here to begin, then they get taken to the weather radar page. I have some other navigation built into my design. What I get for reusing pages. So this design now is taking people to those pages. And I have to build my forward and back and build my page buttons. That's the basics of building a kiosk. You have your multiple layout pages, you build navigation into a layout page and then back out of a layout page. This can get more involved, and we're going to talk about it in the kind of advanced design thinking, there are ways, like on my page here, where you can set up the buttons to be persistent. This page is always on the screen, and I have an area that changes on the bottom. The challenges there is you're building a layout that's pulling other layouts into it, and sometimes that's hard for people to keep track of if there's edits or changes. The upside is I don't have to build multiple navigation windows or panes. I just have more of a control set of buttons that change the channel or change the layout that's being viewed in a lower area. As you build the kiosk, you can use the navigation map in the kiosk builder to see navigation you've built. So I can see that, I have my home kiosk splash page. There's a button there that takes me to the home kiosk framework. There's a button there that takes people to the Albany weather radar. There's something there that takes them back because the arrow goes back the other way to here. And at the moment, I've got this orphaned page that I've pulled into the layouts, but there's nothing that actually takes someone to it. So you can use this navigation map to see kind of what you're building, how, and how it's going, and the way things can navigate and interrelate to each other. Once you've built your kiosk and you're ready to send it to a player, you would go to the players section and you would select the player or players or player groups that you would like the kiosk to be sent to. So you select and edit the players here. When you hit save, you are going to have a new playlist that is created in the system. It is a static playlist. It will be named kiosk playlist, and then whatever you've named your kiosk at the builder side. It will have this note, playlist auto-generated with Korbyt Kiosk Builder. You do not want to actually manually edit this playlist. You would not say, well, there's a page I want to take out of the kiosk. You would not go to the kiosk builder and remove the pages here, or go to the playlist and remove the pages here. You would want to do that type of editing in the kiosk builder. Remove the page there and save. And that will adjust the playlist that the kiosk creates. And that's really the basics. You build up your design, you add your buttons. So if I add another button here, not doing the best design work in the world, and call it news, save element. News. Publish. Save my changes here. I now have a news button. So when someone interacts with it, they can go to the display of news through that on target element. When they're on this news display, which is just showing on target news, I could add a button. Again, back to home. Save. Back to home. Then back to that home page. And now I have a way for someone to go from that home page to the news, and the news back to the home page. Again, that's the basics of building a kiosk. Want to leave some time. What questions do you have about kiosk building? What can I elaborate on that I've shown? What specific questions do you have? Maybe you've tried to build a kiosk and had some challenges and you wanted to come and ask some questions about how to overcome those. What questions can I answer for you today about the basics of kiosk building? And you can come off mute to ask those questions if you want. You can use the chat if you want. Don't be shy. No questions about kiosk building. Let me open up that Q&A. Are there other questions on your mind where you said, I'm going to a Korbyt training today. I have to ask blank. Not seeing anyone come off mute or any chat messages go in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of close the training. I'll ask Logan, who's our host, to stop our recording. Oh, we do have a question that came in. I was going to stop the. Typically, I stop the recording if you haven't been to a class before, and then I ask again if anyone has questions. So sometimes people are shy about asking questions. So, but I do see kind of, Judy, to your point, at the very beginning, how do you start a new kiosk? Great question. So I'm going to head back to my dashboard. I'm going to leave the kiosk I'm working on. So from the dashboard, the actual kiosk builder can be found in the advanced section, either in the new navigation bar UI or in the mega menu. Either way, you'll find it in the advanced section for kiosk builder. And then you will add a kiosk to start creating a new kiosk. And what a kiosk ends up being is a collection of layout pages. Not finding home. Judy, you're not finding home. What does that mean? Sorry.
Unless I'm in a different area, I do not have the home option.
I mean, it's you've got kiosk builder and then adding kiosk. I don't know where.
No. Oh, there it is. Kiosk Builder.
Yep. Kiosk builder, add kiosk.
Hang on. Found it. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. So that's in that advanced section. So what kiosks end up being are a collection of layout pages. So what I actually suggest is that you think about the pages you want the kiosk to be, what screens are going to be involved, and then you can actually build those in the layout builder in advance. We have a layout builder here. You can start from scratch. I can say I want to create a new layout and call it, new kiosk home page and create it here and use the builder tool that's built in. The challenge becomes no matter how small you make this kiosk menu, which you can make it a little bit smaller, you can make it bigger, it's always going to be taking up part of your screen. So if you're like me and this is my shared laptop screen, you might only have so much workspace to use. It sometimes is easier to build the pages in advance in the layout builder separately. And then instead of creating layout pages here, you can just select them from the pages you've already built. Built and I should say published. So then I can add those into the kiosk. So does that answer the how to start building a new kiosk? I'm not sure when you were able to join us. Did you were you here for the auto reset discussion? What that setting does? Yeah. Okay. So good question. Again, that's the starting point, and then you bring your pages in. You decide which one is going to be the actual page that is the first page when the kiosk opens, or the page that's returned to when the auto reset time hits. That gets the little crown icon. Now, just be mindful, anytime you move your mouse over a page, they're all going to have a crown icon because it's asking you, do you want to set that crown there? So it's when your mouse is not there. If you end up with a lot of pages in your kiosk, you might have to, use the scroll side to side to see all of them. Or you can make your kiosk settings side bigger by clicking and dragging. Hit cancel here. So good question. Glad we were able to kind of show you the beginning points again. Did that spark any questions? Any questions I can answer about kiosks or Korbyt in general?
Yeah, I had a question.
Oh, please, fire away.
Um, at the last training, you showed like showing and hiding different elements in a layout. And I'm seeing like Kiosk does something similar. When do you recommend like just like enough things to kind of consider going into Kiosk instead of showing and hiding elements in a layout?
So that's a great question. So show hide elements is great for one or two things. Especially, I'll say the show and hide is especially useful if we're talking about our desktop product, where I'm a desktop agent and you have assigned me one message, one design with data, and maybe an element that you want me to see or not see based on flipping that, toggling that visibility. Because you can't send a kiosk to that desktop software. So that's one differentiator. You also can't send kiosks to a sonar interaction in Korbyt. So if you're wanting to build kind of some toggling of visibility in a sonar design, one that's being delivered over a URL, kiosks would not be the way to do that either. Kiosks cannot be delivered over sonar. They need an actual player. So there's another differentiator that might push you towards the toggle hide visibility. Now, in terms of number of elements, if it's actually a touchscreen kiosk, I think of it more as the toggle visibility can be great for, think more a use case like I have my navigation bar that's persistent in my kiosk, and I have a button to show or hide that navigation bar. Do you want to see or hide the controls? So I'm toggling the controls to be visible or not visible. They're always there. But then the actual pages I want to render in the kiosk, it's going to become very cumbersome for the player to have like a full screen radar, a full screen news, a full screen sitemap, kind of always there. That's the trick with the toggle visibility. It is always present in the layout design. Whether you're seeing it or not, the player has to think about bringing it in. It doesn't have to actually render it, but it's part of what it's pulling in when it says show this page. Whereas with a kiosk, I'm using these controls to view and render different elements one at a time. So I'm going to have a more stable experience with a kiosk, especially once you start having, 2, 3, 4 elements that you're switching between. But there's no necessarily like hard, fast rule. It is a bit of, should this be a kiosk? Some of it depends on the way it's being delivered. Is it over sonar? Is it over desktop? Then it needs to be something not kiosk. And if it's, we're actually talking about you're only really viewing one main thing at a time and you're navigating from one to the other, that is where Kiosk comes in. So I hope that helped kind of give you some guidance on that. Sorry to say I don't have a hard, fast rule for it. But that's a
No,
good
thank you.
question. That's a very good question.
That did help. How do I know if my player is a desktop? I don't have like the
You don't.
player.
There's no such thing as a desktop player. That's a person. So an agent gets assigned our desktop. It's through software. So if you don't have our desktop product, if like when you open your mega menu, there's not a menu section that says desktop, then you're not using our desktop product. It used to be called InView. Some people still call it InView. It is let me cancel my slide deck there so I can get to my desktop. It is a separate application that like a user opens. Think call center agent or remote agent, where I'm going to view a data dashboard built in Korbyt on my computer through an application. Yep. Sounds like it's a product you probably don't have, which is not a bad thing. It's just not a product that you have. Yeah, good questions. Are there other questions? Has this sparked some other questions to answer? Okay. Going to take a moment to remind of, all right, navigating my slides, of our knowledge base, where you can find support and answers. So product.korbyt.com is that knowledge base site. It has space for you to give us feedback. It has our product roadmap. So the features that we are adding each quarter. It has the change log, the things we've recently changed. You can also subscribe to get these updates. And it has our knowledge base where you can search for support articles. Like if you're looking for kiosk information, if I just search kiosk, you can let the AI give you like a summary of what it's finding, or you can turn that off and just look for articles that it's going to find that relate to kiosk. So just a reminder that that is there always. Next time, next class, September 9th, 11 a.m., same bat time, same bat channel. We'll be going over some advanced kiosk techniques. There are ways to have one persistent navigation frame so that you don't have to repeat navigational buttons. You don't have to keep adding buttons to each page that say, hey, go back to the home. It's a little involved. It uses the external URL element to actually pull in a layout page that's not really external. It's part of Korbyt. And we'll talk about kiosk tracking. So the way to see interactivity in a kiosk. So that'll be next time. And just a reminder, we do have in our knowledge base, if you even search Training Tuesday, our article here that lays out our upcoming topics has the register here button. A little bit lower down has the recordings of our previous sessions. So if you weren't here for our interactivity in designs discussion and you wanted to see what that was, you can watch the recording, player and metadata troubleshooting, custom template building. They're all here, except our first one, which we had we let an AI agent begin recording, so we did not have access to the recording. So if it was your AI agent that tried to start earlier today, that is why it was turned off, sorry to say. So if no other questions, I think I have vamped long enough for today. I want to thank you all for joining. Thank you for your questions and your focus. And we'll see you in the next class.